Episode 8.
Do you know someone who would be a great guest on the Telltale Fisherman? If so, go to tell.fish/guest and recommend them for the show. We won't bug them. We'll just give them the chance to share the story of their lifetime and become a fishing legend. Visit tell.fish/guest.
Welcome to the Telltale Fisherman Podcast, where avid anglers share the story of their best fishing day ever to inspire yours. Now it's time for another epic adventure. So here's your host, John Woodson.
Welcome to the show. Today we are here with Sid Mair. Sid, welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you.
Sid's a longtime friend, and he is also a water sports enthusiast in addition to being an angler. Before we get into all of that, though, tell us a little bit about what you do during the week when you'd probably rather be out skiing or fishing or some other things.
Right now, I run a division for a computer company that deals with the federal government.
Okay. And so you're in sales?
Yes, that's
for
right.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I run their sales organization.
And you're also a man of many other talents. You've done other things such as building homes and...
Done some home building, owned some small businesses. Basically a variety of positions from sales territories all the way to presidents of organizations.
Wow. So a man of many talents, including talents on the water. So talk to us a little bit about not just your fishing experience, but you do a lot of other things like skiing and other kinds of water sports.
Yeah. Well, it really stems all the way back from when I was a child. Mm-hmm. So my father passed away when I was 11 years old. But a lot of our memories are of him taking my brothers and I out. He basically, we had a boat when I was a young child and started skiing when I was probably 4 years old or 5 years old.
Wow.
And then also started scuba diving by the time we were 7.
Wow.
And most of my angling experience was actually spearfishing until I was... probably into my early teens. I didn't really do that much fishing.
So whereabouts was that you grew up and did most of that?
We grew up in
spearfishing?
Melbourne.
Okay.
Yep. And my dad was the first diving instructor in the state of Florida back in the late 50s. Mm-hmm. Built all his own equipment. He worked at the Cape Canaveral, so he had access to all these machine equipment and everything else.
Wow.
So he would actually build all his own diving equipment and some fishing gear, things like that.
So was he a professional diver? I mean, did he do that as a career or just teaching?
He ran all of the rescue diving instruction for the state of Florida.
Oh,
for
wow.
all of the sheriff's departments.
Oh, wow.
So I actually have his sheriff's, like a sheriff's pistol gun and everything else that I got just recently about 5 years ago. So.
Oh, that is cool.
It's kind of interesting.
So he was I guess what you'd call a master diver.
He was a master diver. So he taught diving. There's actually a dive shop in Melbourne called Hats.
Okay.
Which the original owner of Hats, which now is Sun's own, but Jerry Hatt and my dad were inseparable. They dove all over the place and everything else. So
wow.
So
That's pretty neat. I didn't know that.
I mean, they actually spearfished the largest Jewfish in the state of Florida ever done.
Back when you could do that.
750 pounds, back when you could do it.
Yeah.
Back in the early 60s. Yeah.
750 pounds.
750 pounds.
Wow. Did they carve
I
that
have
up?
pictures of it, actually.
Now, that would be cool to see. So did they...
Well, I have pictures of the smaller one, the same one they did. They got a 350-pound one and a 750-pound one. They couldn't lift the 750-pound one to take a picture of it hanging.
Oh, my goodness. So. Did they carve that up and made many, many meals out of it?
Oh,
or?
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You could feed a whole village with one of those things.
Yeah, and there were 4 or 5 guys spearfishing that day. So it wasn't just...
Yeah.
And so all of them had to put spears into the into that jewfish to get it.
Oh my goodness. Which I guess now the politically correct term is Goliath grouper.
Yeah.
For those who haven't heard the name, the formerly known as name.
Ah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But so spearfishing is how you got your start in angling, I guess. So what other kinds of fishing have you done over the years?
Well, of course, bass fishing, since I live on a lake. So, we do a little bit of bass fishing here and there. But our favorite fishing has always been offshore.
Right.
So I love trolling more than anything. So I like to see if I can find dolphin or sailfish or some of those. So,
right. And I understand that's the story we're going to talk about here in just a minute.
Yeah.
But so where have you been offshore fishing? I mean, all over Florida? Have you been elsewhere?
No, pretty much up and down the east coast of Florida.
Okay.
So mostly off of Canaveral, Port Canaveral, but off of Sebastian Inlet, Stewart, Jupiter, and then all the way through the Keys. We've been off through the Keys.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's one thing we're blessed with here in Florida is a lot of great places to fish.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, when we get back, Sid is going to share his epic story of offshore fishing.
Live bait is often the difference between an epic day and a slow day of fishing. On my last vacation, we were fishing for snook on the beach. The fish were there, but the bait was not. So I ended up driving my boat a mile away to catch bait and then transported them back to the spot on the beach with a 5-gallon bucket. However, in the hot Florida sun, that plan did not work out so well. But now I have found a much better portable option for keeping bait alive on the boat and on shore. Visit tell.fish/gear to check it out. That's tell.fish/gear.
All right, we're back with Sid Mair, and you mentioned Port Canaveral before. Is that where this story took place?
Actually, it did. We actually had bought our first fishing boat just as our son and daughter were really young. So we bought it back in 1986.
Okay.
I actually still have that boat, a Wellcraft 180 Fish.
Wow.
With a 150 Yamaha on the back.
That's a great hull that'll keep going forever.
Yeah,
I bet.
and it hasn't, it literally have done nothing to it for 30 years except rebuild the carburetors twice and do regular maintenance on it. That was it. I've never had to do anything else to the motor. So.
Wow, that's awesome. You put a lot of miles on that boat.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. When we first got it, I put about 500 hours a year on it for about 15 years.
Wow. So new boat and 2 small kids. And
right.
You decided to go charging off into the ocean?
Yeah. I think my daughter was about 3 or 4 years old. And my son was 6 or 7, I guess.
Wow.
And so we had decided to go offshore. So my wife and I and the 2 kids hopped in the boat, took off. We left, early in the morning. It's a beautiful day, nice and calm, everything. We got probably close to 30 miles offshore. And we're looking for weed lines and everything. We couldn't find a weed line anywhere. Of course, this was before you had GPS and satellite,
weather,
all this stuff.
Yeah.
I had a Lowrance. That was about it.
Right.
So anyway, we ran all morning long, and it was just flat glass and nothing. Nothing was biting, nothing was hitting. We were trying everything. We had basically 4 lines out with different types of lures on it. And
so you're trolling the whole time?
Trolling the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trolling the whole time. It's August, pretty hot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get about toward lunchtime, and we decide, okay, well, we'll just stop at lunch. So we ran over to a place called 8A.
Right.
All right.
A well-known spot.
Well-known spot. That's right.
This area. Okay.
That's right. And that has some ledges and stuff. So we figured, well, we'll just drop some cut bait. We'd been dragging stuff for all morning, so we had plenty of stuff to cut up.
Right.
Because we had ballyhoo and everything else. So we just cut up some pieces and put some weights down and just dropped it down to the bottom and kind of let them sit there off the boat while we were eating lunch.
Right.
And nothing's biting still. It's just one of those days. It's nothing. And we're sitting there eating lunch, and all of a sudden we start seeing these blue streaks. About a half mile out, there's these blue streaks that kept going across the water line. And we're going, man, look at that. What is going on? And they kept coming and they kept getting closer and closer. And pretty soon we're seeing just, it looked like 100 blue streaks just flickering back and forth in front of us. And about 100 yards out, I finally figure out, oh, those are dolphin coming our way.
Wow.
So Mahi.
Yeah. So were they kind of streaking back and forth, side to side, or just coming straight at you?
They were kind of flickering back and forth, zigzag, not completely 90 degrees, but you could see, the streaks whenever they moved. They'd zigzag. So they were hitting bait fish as they were going by or something.
Right.
I don't know, but they were in general heading our direction.
That is an amazing thing when you see that color streaking through the water.
Especially since it was all glass.
Yeah.
And just a little bit just enough wind to make the waves, the water start to ripple a little bit so that you saw the reflection real easily.
Right.
And so about the time I figured it out, it was 100 feet, they're coming toward us. So we just said, pull up your line. So we're yanking the lines up as fast as we can. And about the time we get them, 6 feet under or so, the first dolphin hits one of the lines. So, my kids are going crazy. They're trying to roll it up. All of us are trying to roll up the lines. We had 4 lines in at the time. So this one dolphin hits. And I had read that if you get into a school, you leave one of them in the water, hooked.
Right.
And let that one stay in the water, and the rest of them will stay around it.
Right.
Well, next thing you know, all 4 of them are hitting at the same time. They're just going like crazy, and we're trying to pull them out. Now, these are schoolies. They're not really big. The largest one we had, I think, was 4 or 5 pounds. Mm-hmm. And at the time, there was no limits one way or the other on fish.
Right.
Well, we're literally pulling them out. And while we're pulling them out and throwing them over, that's all we're doing is unhooking, and they're just flapping in the bottom of the boat while we're sitting there trying to keep bait in the water. So we continue to throw these things in over and over again. Pretty soon we have like 20, 25 dolphin bouncing around in the boat. The biggest ones actually bounce themselves back out. They're flapping away.
Oh my goodness.
So by the time we're done, we kept 18 dolphin that day. And
wow.
all of them were pretty good. They were all, you made pretty good steaks, but
right.
But they weren't huge, right?
Right.
They were good schoolies, 4 or 5 pounds a piece.
Well, if they were any bigger than that, you couldn't have caught that many because they would have been.
They would have been flapping out.
Right.
Yeah. So the kids. The interesting thing part about the story was while we were sitting there eating lunch, before we saw the streaks or anything, we were getting really tired. So we had said, hey, well, let's call them. Let's call the Fishy. So they were doing the Sesame Street thing. Here, Fishy, 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 Fishy. Here, Fishy, 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 Fishy. Here, Fishy, Fishy, Fishy. And as they're saying, here, Fishy, 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 you started seeing the blue streaks. So we've always talked about how the kids called the school to us.
They called them in.
Yeah, they called him in.
You should have had him do that at the first, as soon as you got on
in the
water
boat.
there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we should have been calling him the whole morning. So
well, at least you thought to do that at the end.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing when the dolphin come up like that. I've had that happen once or twice, and for us, it's so chaotic that we'll get, like, we've gotten a couple, 3 or 4 in the boat, and then 2 will grab the line, and then they'll like swim around each other and twist the line up. They're so fast.
Yeah.
So that's pretty remarkable that you were able to.
I think we only had 1 twisted line the whole time we were pulling them in.
Wow.
And we pulled both of them out at the same time and got rid of them so that we could untwist it anyway. So.
And just kept going.
It did. Luckily, we had a bunch of cut bait sitting on a cutting board from when we had dropped the lines.
Yeah.
A lot of times we were catching them and the bait was still on the hook, so we just throw it back in.
Right. Right.
So
I think that's half the battle of being out on the ocean is being prepared and ready for anything that swims your way. Because in my experience, I've seen a lot of things that we weren't able to capitalize on, and it sounds like you were.
We just got lucky.
Well,
I didn't plan it.
You had all the rods rigged up with hooks for live bait.
Yeah.
Right when it comes by. Isn't that amazing that you can go around in the ocean all day long and not see anything, and then all of a sudden catch a whole boatload of fish like that?
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's a really cool experience. So I guess you decided to call it a day after that?
Yeah, soon after. We went out and trolled a little bit after that, but we came in mid-afternoon or something. Right. It was too hot by then.
And spent many hours cleaning fish after that,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And had fish for days. Wow.
Actually, we gave a lot of it away because none of my kids or my wife eat fish.
Oh.
So, I think I grilled it on the grill that night whatever, but gave a lot of it away.
Made a lot of happy friends, I guess,
Yeah.
with that leftover fish.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty epic tale, and those are exactly the kind of things when they happen that you never forget. I mean, those amazing experiences. So, Sid, I'm thankful that you shared that one with us today.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's show. We really appreciate you. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show so that you don't miss an episode, and to help make sure that others don't miss the boat.
This has been the Telltale Fisherman Podcast. Thanks for sharing another great tale with us. Be sure to check out the show notes page for more info on today's show and the gear we talked about. Keep those lines tight, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Telltale Fisherman Podcast.